Well, for this episode of Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics, I decided to take a look at these Millar comics that I've been reading of late. Some are a bit old by now, but it's an interesting thing in that right now he's probably the best writer in comics. And it no longer has any involvement with the mainstream of DC and Marvel, to their detriment. He became a hot property with his deal with Netflix, but sadly, that didn't born a lot of fruit. The Jupiter's Legacy. I enjoyed the show, but I can see why it just, it's too expensive to make, and had these been more recognizable properties, maybe. But then, The Boys did well, but it had more of a comedic take to it. Whereas Jupiter's Legacy is more of this generational soap opera type thing, which, Dallas with superpowers, I don't have a problem with that. But again, it's expensive to do and all of that. So, we'll see what comes of that. It's supposed to do a version of Super Crooks animated. Maybe that would have been the better choice in the first place. But you go back and forth with people saying, no, actually animation can be more expensive than a live action one. So, But anyway, it's unfortunate, and I'll get to Jupiter's Legacy in a bit here. One of the newest titles that he's doing, it is not finished yet, but I've been following it, is The Ambassadors. It's very simple. This super-duper genius woman has the ability to grant superpowers. She gave herself some superpowers and all that. The main villain of the story is her ex-husband. I ordered my copy from mycomicshop.com. And he's got stellar art talent. Of course, Frank Quietly has been a frequent collaborator with him. And of course, once again, knocks it out of the park. It's a beautiful first issue. And then each art, I'm not totally familiar with Carl Kerschel here, but again, top-notch artist, does very well in it. And so each issue has a different artist as he goes through. And the idea is she's looking for candidates to be this superhero team she's building. And she's looking for representatives of different nations across the planet. And so each story you get, the basic story of the people involved. It says the number's supposed to be 6, but I think it's probably going to be a little more than that. I don't know. But this one in particular, some say Travis Charest, some say, I always thought it was Travis Charest. I don't know. Whichever, but a spectacular artist, to put it mildly, but incredibly slow. And so there's a lot of covers and stuff like that he's done over the years. But because he's so slow, it's difficult to have him do a full-on, interior art and everything. So apparently, this series has been on the back burner as Travis drew this issue. It took a while, but he did. So that's worth the price of admission alone to see him do the book. And you have this mother and son characters who come into this superhero world. In France. The line work is a little thicker than I remember, and because he was the main artist on a reboot of the Wildcat series at the end of the 90s, and that first issue alone is just immaculate to look at, but takes too long to do. And right off the bat, by the second issue, somebody else had to do fill-ins for it, and eventually he was gone, doing nothing more than covers, and then was gone completely. And it's too bad. It's too bad it couldn't be maintained in some form of fashion, because apparently even doing like bi-monthly or quarterly or something was not enough time for him to achieve that level of excellence. But anyway, this is a lot more thicker lines to it appears. But still, really good stuff. And, Mark Millar goes for the best in his titles. Oliver Copiel, and I'll talk more about him on another series. Of course, another fine artist that remember him from Marvel and stuff like that, and another candidate for this super team they're building, and continues on with the story. So each story, since it fits in the narrative that you're getting introduced, then basically you get a tour of the characters that will form this team of the ambassadors, and so each issue is that the art would be more in line with them and their world and that sort of thing, and so that's how it kind of plays out. And once again, well, this is the did he do? Oh, this is another cover for the So anyway, I haven't gotten to the final issue yet myself. Will shortly, but this is where it all comes together. The main villain is the ex-husband of the main leader here, and that'll be the ultimate payoff for it all. So my guess is it's a setup for a second volume later, which I'm fine with. So you basically get, like I said, a little tour of all the members, and then you get this battle, and we'll see how it goes. But it's well written. He does that. Even though it's just basically telling you who this guy is or this woman is, and that sort of thing. And then, of course, the art is second to none. So another cool series that Mark has started on, again, not finished with as am taping this, but I've read quite a few issues of the series. Is Nightclub, and basically it's very simple. Some teenagers get superpowers. How? Well, they become vampires, but they want to be superheroes, so they don the Mexican wrestling masks, and while wearing the mask, they completely cover their face, and they keep completely covered. They can also operate in daylight without burning, and fight crime and all that. Of course, there's more sinister forces afoot that they're unaware of. This guy is one of them. But it's well crafted, and the different shenanigans and problems they get into as they pursue all of this. But it's fun, it's funny, and also very dark and scary. So I can't say enough about it. It's just really good. I highly recommend checking out the series. It's very, very basic, It's a vampire story, but with the superhero bent to it, and just the morals of these kids, of what they want to pursue rather than what your average vampire wants to do. And so it sounds, but when you get into it, and of course Millar is very good at crafting the personalities and the narratives and whatnot, and so it sounds simple enough, and to a point it is, but very entertaining series. And the last one I read was this one, and boy, the poo hit the fan. In this particular one, but great series, and once again, he chooses his artist very well in illustrating this vampire saga, if you will. So Jupiter's Legacy is an old series. There was supposed to be a follow-up to this one, Jupiter's Legacy Requiem, but I don't know, perhaps because of the failure of the show and everything, that's been put on hold for the time being. The art is interesting. It's not bad, but it's not as good as some of the previous choices, I would think. So somewhat lacking in that, but still, once again, another, a Dallas with superpowers, generational saga. Now Chloe is the matriarch of everybody. Her son has succeeded his grandfather as the new utopian and that sort of thing. And a lot of it is just it's a bit of a broken family as they've grown. And And then there's this slowly building plot working against them that they're completely caught off guard by. And it ends on a massive cliffhanger. So that's a bit upsetting. I'm sure he will revisit it. But of the Jupiter's Legacy titles, that's the final issue so far. As you can see, everything's burning down. But of the Jupiter's Legacy titles, I think Jupiter's Circle is the best one that he produced. It's sort of, I called Jupiter's Legacy overall, Dallas with superpowers. Jupiter's Circle was more akin to superpowers, Mad Men with superpowers, the TV show. And because it was set in the early 60s and that sort of thing, of those years of when the original superheroes of this world were in their prime. And really, really enjoyed it. Now, Frank Quietly did the art on the original titles, which was vastly superior to the other choices, but still Jupiter's Circle I just found more entertaining, and I can't recommend that one enough. And I kind of wish they'd have just done an adaptation of that for a film or a miniseries or something like that, instead of where they tried to do it all at once in the TV show, and didn't work out. But yeah, I want to see it continued and concluded, because the way it is quite the cliffhanger, and a lot of just sadness about it all. It's really kind of unfair to some characters and others, but that's how life works out and that sort of thing. But I don't think this is entirely a successful effort on the volume overall, where everything just happens at the end. I mean, obviously, I assume he intended to follow up on it much sooner. It said, the next volume or chapter or whatever will be in 2022. Well, I'm in the middle of 2023, and it hasn't happened. So to be continued at some point, hopefully. But that's a slow build-up to a cliffhanger and then nothing. So it's a bit of a problem. And even if he says, okay, there's another volume coming and all that, I don't know. I think it was too much soap opera and not enough superhero action. So a bit of a downer on this one as opposed to some of the other titles, but still better than most that's available today in the genre. So finally, for the Mark Millar titles, which I think is Millar, or is it Miller? But it is the Magic Order, which is quite an old title now. There's been, I think, 4 volumes in total. I've just completed reading the first one, so catching up late to it, but it's really good. And this easily would have been a Vertigo title under DC had it gone that route, and it would have fit in very easily. But it also puts the Vertigo's dead. I mean, it was destroyed by the current era and the stupidity thereof. And this book puts that to shame of what showing you how it's done. But basically, it's what the title says, Magic Order. Well, they're a bunch of sorcerers or wizards, and they're a family of wizards handed down generations after generation. And the ominous opening to it is that there were once monsters, and then the wizards rose up to oppose them. It's a world where they act unbeknownst to the rest of mortal men. And so a lot of times they can easily cast a spell to where you can't see them. They see each other, but you're completely unaware of the nasty magic wars that are going on around you, that are often horrific. And every now and then it bleeds over into the real world, and hey, what the hell just happened? And they got to make them all forget. Stuff like that. But for the most part, it centers around this family. He's the father. These are his children, and what goes on there. And it's just a story of tragedy and loss and betrayal that happens. And again, there is this development and background for the characters, and you get a bit of a tour of the world, and but it's much better crafted than some of the other efforts I've talked about here, and in how it builds to its ultimate conclusion and stuff like that. The ending is a lot of the problems with stories about magic is that you literally can pull a rabbit out of a hat or some other orifice to save the day. And even though there's some background about the heroic character who emerges here that gives you the possibilities of how this would work, it's probably the weakest point in that how quickly it slaps together. And I suppose with the spell used, it doesn't really matter that, hey, maybe you should have acted sooner in these circumstances, but oh well, it all wraps up, everything's fine. Despite all the horror. But once again, the art's very good by Oliver Coipel here. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong too, or it's Olivier. Oh geez, I'm saying Oliver. So sorry, but excellent artist, and does great work in these titles. And that's not exactly what happens, but the imagery gives you a pretty good dose of the horrors you're about to see, and all the sadness and loss and regret and stuff, and ultimately betrayal that happens in it. But often in a lot of surrealistic imagery that you get into it. Things like this will appear too. But this character in particular, rises to steps up to the plate and that sort of thing. And I couldn't help but be struck at how similar she is to the Chloe character in Justice League, Jupiter's Legacy stories, at least the initial one. And very similar. So it's sort of a template that Millar is getting a little repetitive with here, but it's a very entertaining book, and the tour through it. And of course, again, the pitfalls of magic is that it becomes too easy. It's kind of wrapped up and this sort of thing. But he's able to craft the drama of it enough to where, even though I can see that still being a problem or a weakness here, it doesn't matter because it's so rich with the drama and the characters and whatnot. So I enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to the next volume of The Magic Order and just about anything Mark Millar these days. So delving into that, I got to catch up on quite a bit. Again, to be continued on that, and do recommend, for the most part, his titles for your comic book reading pleasure. And then there's Batman. This is the latest series, which I read on DC Universe Infinite. They've already got it posted there, so if you have that subscription, you can check it out yourself digitally. And Brave and the Bold had been Batman's team-up book originally. Doesn't appear to be the case. It looks, this time around appears to just be an anthology series, focusing, of course, Batman. He's in the title. And there's some interesting things here, but ultimately, the main problem is a story by Tom King. So this will be Tom King's take, I guess, on Batman's first battle with the Joker. There are some nods to the original early Golden Age stories of the Joker's appearance, especially with this murder plot that he did back then, where people were told they would die by a certain time at midnight or what have you, and that unfolds here. Once again, Tom King is blessed with the artists that work on his projects. Very good. This one being Mitch Gerards, again, a frequent collaborator who does a lot of great work, although is very repetitive sometimes. But then again, that's probably what the script calls for. But Tom King if Bad Robot did comics, Tom King would be their top writer. He teases an awful lot. He knows how to decorate things and make them seemingly intriguing, and then ultimately reveals he's got nothing. So what will it be this time? I don't know. It is all very eerie and creepy. In particular, in this, it's Batman. Here he is dealing with a criminal who's taunting him and whatnot, and now realizes he's about to be run over by a train, and seemingly Batman's just going to let it happen. That's not how it goes, spoiler. But ultimately, there's this creepy interaction, and it's very well illustrated with the Joker and this little girl who doesn't understand who he is and what all this is about, and all of that, but just the depiction of pure innocence and absolute evil portrayed here. And it looks phenomenal, but it's Tom King, so it's just like, when's the shoe gonna drop? And he, fooled you again, that's pretty much what you can expect. So it starts off okay. It's creepy and it's like a horror movie. It's ominous and everything, but it's Tom King. I've been there before. I don't trust it. Meanwhile, there's the new Stormwatch introduced here, and now their new boss is Mr. Bones, who, if you're familiar with Infinity Incorporated, when he used to dress up, he still had his skull, but he stole the Black Terrorist costume. But that's all with Stormwatch once again merged into the DC universe, where I absolutely think it does not belong. Now he's in charge of their satellite headquarters, and they've got these missions. Now, this approach is similar to what the Stormwatch stories would be like, where they have their superpowered team, and they have to go deal with a threat and all that. So there's a bit of an introduction of the team, more akin to DC than Wildstorm, but nevertheless, this is the team they've got. Oh, there's this super villain that his crew or cult or whatever is breaking him out, and Stormwatch shows up to, not so fast, buddy, and all of that. So, well, it didn't go well, and you'll have to check it out if you want to. The art's okay, but it was pretty bland, and the dialogue was just formulaic and tired and old. So not a whole lot there. Not a good intro to say, oh man, I want to see more. It doesn't do that at all. The Superman story, well, he's good old Superman and everything, and maybe there's something here. This art-wise is the least of the batch. It's unfortunate. It's not terrible. It's adequate for what the story's telling, but it just lumped in with the rest. Not so great. This is actually a pretty good shot, though. Superman saving the ship. But it's a personal story for Superman, and he looks more like Superboy there. But something, a callback to his childhood, and something he thought was a children's show that he liked as a kid. He gets this decoder ring, but wait, it's so much more. And it reveals, oh, what's this? Well, that's where the story gets interesting on the last page, to be continued. But it's the intro, and I understand it might get better. I don't know what to tell you. But it wasn't enough to draw me in, and with the others in the pot here, I don't know what, I'm dubious on how good this will get. The best by far is once again the work of Dan Mora. This time he's writing and drawing. Of course, he's an excellent artist. Somewhat shades of Sean Murphy almost here. But he did it all in black and white, and this is sort of his take on his own new version, I guess, of a Batman Beyond-like character in some cyberpunk future, and he's got this high-tech suit, and he has to deal with the ruling forces of the city, which appear to be the Royal Flush Gang, and they've got these sentries that threatening these boys, whose name happen to be Richard and Jason. Oh, I wonder what that's a call to. But as it says, it's another Gotham, another life. So this is a multiverse type thing, alternate reality, to where he could do whatever he wants. I don't know if this is a setup for a continuing series. It just sort of showcased this, introduces it, because he's still working on World's Finest and Shazam, so he probably doesn't have time to do another thing. He did this little thing, and that's probably all he can do. But a lot of it is just showing off the accessories of what this Batman can do with his, his bat armor and everything, and AI capabilities and whatnot. So it says it says where we're going to, Richard and Jason are searching for their younger brother, even younger than Jason here. So Batman says, well, I'm going to help you find him. So, gee, I wonder if that brother's name is Tim or Damien. So anyway, that's the deal. Heroes of Tomorrow. So this is some possible future, and it's just done for a short story backup. And that's fine. It may never get revisited again. But it's probably the best of the batch of you're going to get out of this. Of course, the Tom King story looks gorgeous, but been down that road before. So that's about all I can say for the Brave and the Bold. Maybe it'll get better, but I remain dubious. So probably just check out the Mark Millar titles for the bang for your buck. Anyway, there we go. That's what I did for this Wednesday's Mr. Nailsin's Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics. Once again, another rough week. Sorry, not at my best, but hopefully next time I will be. See you then.